Jennifer, let me know when I can begin.
Okay, we do have quorum, Sandra. We are missing Albert and Sean. They said that they were going to attend, but it's up to you if you want to get started or give them another minute.
We can give them another minute.
Sandra?
Yes.
Yeah, do you want to get started?
Yes.
Albert? Yeah, okay.
Okay, let's call the meeting to order. I'm going to hand it over to Julia for confirmation of quorum.
Yep, we have quorum.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Just really quickly for public comment, the public has an opportunity to speak on any item not on the agenda. Public comments are limited to no more than 3 minutes per speaker, except that a speaker using a translator shall be allowed up to 6 minutes. And then the public may also speak on any item on the agenda by waiting until the item is read, then requesting recognition from the chair to speak. All right, moving over to approval of minutes. Julia?
We don't have any. We have that.
Page of them.
All right, we have a couple of action items. Let's go over those. We have the first action item, actually that one is closed, on scheduling the training sessions for ABOD once the updates are made. So we have that closed. We also had an ask to show a chart that lists equivalent enhancements for CalSAWS to benefits Cal. That item is still open. Oh, sorry. I think we did that. Do we have any updates on?
I think during the presentation, we put the line in the slides.
Yeah, it should be reflected in the slides now.
So
we can close that item out. There was some additional things. Include a slide showing corresponding HR1 updates to benefits Cal. That was closed and that was already there. Julie, to share outside benchmarks, that still is open because we have to review those. And then share the number of documents that were actually retried for upload.
I will cover that during my update in the minute.
Okay. Thank you, Honor. The next one is the published data and analytics data catalog. That's an ongoing thing, but
so we've been submitting those as part of our sprint design documents. So if there's any feedback, we'd love to hear. But this will be an ongoing as and when we publish the design documents for reports.
Yeah.
So do you want that to stay open monthly or close it knowing that it's an ongoing process?
I think that should be closed for PSC. Sandra?
Yes. All right. Do we have any questions?
No, wait. One more action. Okay. So we can close that out. And then the last one is level set reasons for change to new identity and access management. That will be covered during the presentation. Perfect. All right, back to you, Sandra.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments from PSC? And I saw Dell's hand.
Thank you. Just a quick question on the data catalog, Rajesh. That you said you're sending it as part of the design. That's to the work group that's working on those, reviewing those designs. Is there a central location where the data catalog is going to continue to grow, where we can go and review it or have access to it? I would imagine you have a site or something, right?
There will be. Bobby, do you know the exact site where we are storing these documents? Yeah.
It's on the communication portal.
Communication folder?
Mhm.
Yeah, so Dell, it's in the communication folder.
Okay.
Now, just to be clear on that one, what you see right now is the business definitions, right? As we build the data model, then you will see the technical from tables and columns. So it's kind of a two-part process.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dell. All right, any other questions from PSC? Seeing none, we'll move over to public comment, and I apologize, I didn't open it for public comment earlier, so do we have any public comment? Okay, seeing none, then we can continue to move forward.
Yeah, we need a motion to
Oh,
approve the minutes.
Sorry. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll move to approve. Eduardo.
Do you have a second?
This is
Second.
Rachel from Region 3. I'll second.
Okay. Clarissa?
I approve.
Lynn? I approve. We already got those two. Cecilia?
I
Cecilia?
approve. Sorry, I was having issues.
No problem. Christine? Chris? Are you here? Oh, thank you. Jamae?
Approved.
Albert, have you joined yet?
He'll be on in
Sandra?
15 minutes. I approve.
Joe?
I approve.
Sean?
Approve?
Olga?
I approve.
All right. Approved. Okay, back to you, Sandra.
Thank you. Okay.
Go back to us, probably. Just kidding.
Next up, data analytics, and
Yeah.
I believe we have.
I'll speak to that.
Thank
We'll
you.
have Robert and Rajesh.
Yeah.
My name is Robert Lusk. I'm the CIO here with CalSAS. Really, I want to bring us along as to where we are and how we got here. We currently have a fairly rigid reporting solution that was better than what we had before, but it hasn't met the growing needs of accounts. It's really important to us to make sure that we have the tools that are flexible and robust enough from an analytics solution to help inform county leadership so they can make sure that they take care of what needs to be taken care of. So how did we get here? So looking back approximately February of 25, data analytics was identified as a priority by the JPA. We conducted an internal analytics workshop and we engaged with 56 of the counties to understand the pain points. We wanted to make sure we understood it from the county perspective, what they're trying to achieve and the friction points that are causing them challenges. The analytics vision was then presented at the 2025 June JPA. POCs to validate the technical solutions were then conducted. And then we drove into analytics workshops to identify the technical requirements. Then we presented the vision and approach to the county directors at the end of last year. And then in February of 2026, this year, we received JPA's approval to move forward with the project. Next slide, please. So one of the things that's important to us as we go through this is we've identified 5 different personas. Those personas are going to help make sure that we're meeting the needs of the various groups throughout the counties. Now, this slide is old. We're going to talk to the updated slide here in a moment. And what's important is we're going to split how we do these reports into 2-week sprints. And the intent of those sprints is for us to come up with what we think is a solution, turn it over to these work groups representing all of the different regions, and then them to validate or invalidate what we've presented so that we can then say, yes, that works, or no, we need to change it to make sure that we get what we need. Now, the importance of this is the velocity in which we're able to drive this project forward, whether on schedule or ahead of schedule, is directly proportionate to county and region responsiveness. If we don't get the teams reporting back to us whether we did what they want us to do, we're not going to be able to increase the speed and velocity of this project. Or if that improves, we'll be able to drive it forward faster. So I'm going to turn it over to Rajesh now for some of the details.
Right. Thanks, Robert. Rajesh Taliani, CalSAS PM. As Robert mentioned, the slide is bit dated. So the only pending thing here is we are trying to work through, the persona, which is the executive representatives. So we are either looking for their sponsors or themselves to participate. That is an action item right now. But all other personas, we have the right representation. And in fact, when we kicked off our sprint 1 2 weeks back, we had 135 representatives attending those sessions. So sessions were very well attended. Meanwhile, until we kind of nail down the executive sponsors, we are working with other personas to identify the executive reporting needs. So that's how we've been doing work around. But we hope to have an answer on that front shortly, I would say in the next couple of weeks or so. Let's go to the next slide, please. So we basically kicked off our 2-week sprint beginning April, April 3rd. And our first, sub-module was pending applications within the intake module. We submitted the design on April 3rd. Subsequent to that, on Wednesday, April 8th, we did a 2-hour, session with the analytics work group. And as I mentioned, there were 135 individuals participating in that. We gathered their feedback, and then we did another round of, feedback gathering on Monday this week. We had 6 sessions, each session by region, and gathered their input. And where we are as of today, 4/16, as you see there, we plan to submit the final design documents for the pending applications. And then we are hoping, sometimes next week we'll get an approval on that. So it's kind of this is the way we will operate as far as design. The next 2-week sprint actually kicks off tomorrow. And the topics we are there looking at is application processing and the ICT, which is the intercounty transfer. Those are the 2 topics. And anything, all the reports and dashboards tied to that we'll be tackling in the next sprint from a design point of view. Let's go to the next slide, please. So our approach to how we are handling, the design requirements. So we looked at, and again, I'll pick on, pending applications. We looked at all our existing Click dashboards, Click reports. We had received some formats from third-party sources. We looked at that as well. We looked at any pending change requests to say if there's anything pending. We took all that into input. And then in addition, as Robert mentioned on the previous slide, or a few slides before, we've been talking to counties and kind of understanding the requirements, pain points. So we looked at, if there's any redundancy in reports, what information is missing. So we took all that information and based on that came up with our draft design, and we submitted that, 2 weeks back, and now we are looking to get approved. So let's go to the next slide, please. So this is the overall timeline. And again, this is only phase 1. We are focused on this timeline. Multiple threads here. There is the infrastructure thread, which we continue to work with Don and Gainwell. Very close to getting the Databricks signed off, as we spoke yesterday, Don. In parallel, we are working on Power BI procurement. So that thread is kind of proceeding per plan. On our application or the platform side, as I mentioned, we kicked off the intake module, and within intake was pending applications, and then next sprint. Pretty soon, we will then kick off continuing eligibility. So as you can see, slowly our velocity will go up and up and up. And again, the reason we are doing this is we do have a very, very ambitious goal of getting all a majority or 80% of our operational reporting needs, completed in the first 12 months. So lots of work to be done. In parallel, we'll kick off, training, change management aspects of it. But overall, I would say we are off to a pretty good start. So back to you, Sandra.
Thank you, Rajesh. Okay, any questions or comments from the PSC?
I have a question.
Yes.
So can you go back to the slide where there were the representatives?
Yep.
So the 135 representatives that were on the sessions, is it just from these counties? Or
Bobby?
No, it's hi Clarissa. So what we did is originally the work group members, there were 3 representatives per region, but we knew that more eyes needed to be on it. So what we did is by sprint, the focus of those documents that needed to be reviewed We've been reaching out to your RMs have been reaching out to the counties and gathering SMEs specifically in that subject area. So these were all subject matter experts in pending applications that were on the call. And then on Monday, we had by region individual calls with the SMEs and work group members in that region and had really good conversation about what they liked, what they didn't like, how they wanted to visualize the data. And so we've been working through all of that.
So the sprints are specific to subject matter, and whoever is whichever county has been categorized as having interest in that subject area, then attended these sessions. Okay, so can you tell me a little bit more about what the end product will look like? Is it a tool at the end that replaces Click? Is it a bunch of data sets that the counties will then harness? Is it a bunch of reports? What's the end goal?
What if I say all of the above?
Yes, I was gonna say yes.
So yes, so yeah, short answer is yes, all of the above.
Okay.
You will get the report. So today, for example, we have a pending application, right? If there's a change needed on that report, the process is very rigid, as Robert mentioned, right? You know, you have to log a change request, all 58 counties have to agree, or 6 regions have to agree, then the change goes in. The idea is once we provide that report in production, pending applications, and if your county says, well, I want to add another filter criteria, or I want to add another column, the goal here is for your county to do those changes without coming to us, and then you can save that report in your space. So it won't go away. So that's the goal. And in addition to that, you'll have dashboards. So it will replace Click. If you want to take that data set and do something with it, you will have that opportunity.
But the definition of what a pending application is defined by whom?
And work group.
The work group.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. So the work group representatives are really defining what goes into the data sets.
Yeah, so
that the
we actually have a
counties
fairly good idea of what pending application, because we already have existing reports, right?
Okay.
So we know, so we are coming up with, I would say, a good 90% kind of semi finished product, not semi, 90% is almost there. 80 to 90% we are coming in with, this is our understanding, and then tell us if we are missing anything. So we are not coming with a clean slate to say, let's start with what pending application is. Because we have a fairly good understanding, we have existing reports,
Sure.
we have gathered data from other sources. So we are coming in with that, like I would say 80 to 90% finished product, and then plugging in the gap of remaining 10 to 20%.
Yeah, and I think it's worth repeating that this is validation,
Yeah.
right? This is not, let's start from scratch and like, let's create new definitions,
Mhm.
right? The reports have finished application, you know, what was the pending applications, right? That's already in the reports,
Mhm.
right? So we're just validating that we have a universal definition of what pending applications is for the data catalog. It's not, we're not starting from scratch. This is validating what's already in existing reports, and making sure that it's consistent across.
But the definitions, that's documented somewhere so that
It's in
like
the
5
design.
years from now.
Yes,
And
that's the
somebody else
data
is
catalog.
doing the
Yes,
reports.
that's why the
Data
data
catalog.
catalog is important.
Okay.
That's exactly what Julia
So this
mentioned,
is
actually.
so part of what's being delivered at
Yep.
the end.
Correct. Yep.
So we all have the same sheet of music.
Yes. I
Yeah.
want to be clear on what's being delivered at the end of all of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Del?
Yeah, quick question on the validation process. I know we have work group validation. Is there a process where the data, especially for existing reports, where the data from the existing report is going to be compared to the new reports? Right? So we've had to go through like internal testing, thorough
Yep.
testing of the existing reports. I would imagine that once you deliver them, we're going to be able to run them side by side and say, okay, here's my monthly report on pending applications. Here's the new one. And my counts are going to be exactly the same, with the difference of whatever SERs we've implemented to change or tweak the report.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's the main goal of these work groups, right? Is to look at the existing report and then the one that's going to be in the Databricks solution. And if there's a delta, we need to figure out but that's how we're actually going to be doing that cross comparison, Del, is based on the existing report.
You could go to the timeline slide. I think we do show that we have next one more. So yes, on this, where do I see that? Yeah, so if you look at the in the analytics platform, there is the data observability, design, build, SIT. So we will do that comprehensive testing. So let's say, if we have the current click report, and if I run for a specific month, and it fetches, let's say, 1,000 pending applications for LA, I'll pick on LA. Then we'll take that data, push it to the analytics platform, and they run the same report, and I expect 1,000 and not 999 or 1,001 for the same time frame, for the same duration, and for that specific county.
Sounds good. I just second question on the accessibility, and I know that it was asked in the prior question. As you're delivering these data models, the counties are expected to have the accessibility to them, right? To be able to write their own reports against the same data models. So the pending application data model that you have underneath, we're going to be able to connect to that independently and create reports. Is that correct?
I will have to take that action item. I have to see, like, our thought process is to have LA their own space, right? Yeah. What I need to figure out is at the back end, like what connectivity and everything. So let me take that as an action item.
Thank you.
Validating access levels. Because LA likes to take it.
Yeah.
I do have one question. So, and I think it just kind of focuses on everybody else's questions too, is since we already have these application reports, we're not losing any of the current information. We're only gaining, right? So that we are able to then filter out what we don't want as counties. I think that's a concern just because when there is shifts, we might lose something that we do need in the process. And it changes slightly, that tweaks our current business names. But thank you. I did see Julia confirm that we are not losing you. So, okay. And then lastly, on the training needs piece on this slide, is that same work group identifying the training needs, or is this coming from the project and identifying what reports are going to require additional training, or how is that going to be identified for the counties?
Again, it will be a combo approach. So, based on the usability of a new platform, we'll take a first crack at where we think, the training or any change management aspects are needed. And then we'll come to the work group and confirm that. And if there are any tweaks needed, we'll change that.
Thank you. Any other questions from the PSC?
Can I have another question? Sorry.
Run out of questions.
The training side, are you expecting to train more data analysts on how to harness the data, or more users on how to read the data?
It's, if you go back to that persona slide,
each one's going to be different.
each persona.
Okay,
So like
you
if I'm an
deliver different set of training. Okay. And for some counties who have created their own reports, maybe in a different platform, we'll have to make a decision on whether we continue using what we already have or move to Databricks.
Yeah,
that's correct.
Well, so the hope though is we've also that's part of the analysis that's been done over the last year, that we have some third party solutions, and we're trying to keep as much in-house as possible because there's additional costs for the counties when they use those third parties. And so that has also been collected in terms of the types of reports to the extent possible, so that we can actually have those same reports accessible.
I think less than third party, it's solutions that we built ourselves.
Yeah, that's good.
Right. So I just want to make sure, and some of those we share outside of people who use CalSOS, for example.
Yeah,
right?
and exactly. So our assumption is those solutions are built either through purposeful data sets, which are not going away, or what we call is the EDR, which is the so that is also
I'm trying to find the acronym.
Yeah.
I figured if I talk to more, I'll remember it.
I was also thinking like,
So
it's been a while.
EDR will
talk about EDR.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, so they are not going away.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. Any public comment? Seeing none, we can move to the next one, and it's identity access, and that's going to be Robert and Dawn.
I'll start talking with this again. So identity access management, for those of you who don't know, it is how we log into our systems and then what resources you have access to when we do log in. And this is pervasive across it's foundational for our entire environment. Last year, our current IAM provider announced a strategic shift in their platforms. They were going to move to a new platform. And so we took this as the opportunity to say, well, if we're going to have to make the massive shift to an entirely new platform, what else is out there? What else can support us long term to make sure that counties have what they need going forward? So after careful consideration, the consortium selected Okta as a provider best positioned for our long-term success, as well as one that is a modern cloud native solution that's going to give us those integrated, robust capabilities to support the counties going forward. So I will turn it over to Dawn here to talk about next steps.
Yeah, and we do want to kind of give you a sense of where we're at in the process. So you are sort of watching this form as we are going through this project. So we are in that first step, which is mobilization. And you can see the rough timing in which we are executing that one. And I am going to blow these out a little bit more on the next slides. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on each of these here, but I wanted to give you kind of the big picture of what the project looks like. After we get through mobilization, planning, getting everything moving, we move into architecture, security, platform build, and then we'll have an initial migration, which is really more into our non-production environments, and then we'll start to talk about what do the wave migrations look like for the various systems. Not all of the questions are answered at this point. We are in that planning phase. But we wanted to give you an idea of the framework in which we're operating, all of which will be more fleshed out as we go through and complete our mobilization and planning area. I did want to point out a couple of things on this slide, though. We are starting right out of the gate, contemplating organizational change management. As you saw in the prior slide, it is our intention that this is as seamless as possible. We are going in target is to not have a lot of change for the end users. But as we progress through the system, through the project, we may find that there is some amount of change that we have to introduce, although that is not our going in intent. But because of that, we are making sure that we are starting out of the gate, engaging with our organizational change management lead to make sure that we watch for anything that we may need to cover, either with the county users or information that we may need to get out to the public as it relates to Benefits Cal. So if we go to the next slide, let's talk a little bit more deeply about mobilization and what's going on here. As you might expect, we're doing project plans and orienting the team and making sure that we have all the parts and pieces in place to begin this project. We have completed our kickoff and we are in the middle of that migration planning, which I just mentioned we are going to be working through, but it's going to go in each wave. And so we are in the middle of doing that right now. And probably the biggest thing going on right now is conducting discovery workshops. And those are for us to work through all of the possible user journeys that occur in logging into various systems. Because as Robert alluded to, this isn't just the core CalSAs you use every day. Benefits Cal uses the IAM, ServiceNow uses the IAM. There are a lot of systems who actually are making use of this one platform. So that's what those discovery workshops are about, to make sure the entire team is fully versed on every one of those user journeys that occurs. If we go to the next slide, once we get through that planning and mobilization period, we will be heading on to something that's probably a little bit more you're a little more used to, which is sort of building, configuring. Again, this is a product, so we're not doing custom development, but we do have some configuration and user journeys to define, and we need to obviously plan our migration from one platform to the other. And then, of course, testing will be planned out, and we will be doing that in this particular phase. If we go to the next slide, you'll see that after all of that, we move into migration. And again, that initial migration period is really about non-production environments. And it's about giving us a lot of runway in those non-production environments to test, particularly core CalSAs and Benefits Cal. So that is the intent of that initial migration. That is not touching any production systems that you would use. that is us really moving through our non-production environments, which are used by project staff. So they are in use regularly, but we do want to make sure that we go through that first. Then you can see we have a whole series of waves planned. I do not yet have the list of which applications are going in each wave. That was part of that migration planning I talked about before. So again, you're watching us build the plan. We want to make sure that you are aware of where we are in this process. And by our next meeting, we anticipate we would have filled out this chart to include which applications or systems are going in which wave. And so, for example, Benefits Cal and Core CalSAWS, obviously in the production environment, will be out there towards the end. But you'll probably see us moving ServiceNow and a few things like that in sort of that second wave. That's initial thinking. And again, we are still in that mobilization planning area. So working through that, and we will have more information as we come to the conclusion of our mobilization period. And with that, I will turn it back for questions.
Thank you. All right. Any questions or comments from the PSC?
I do have a question. This is Lynn from Napa. What are you anticipating the impact to the users?
So that's our as seamless as possible.
Yeah.
As we go into this, the intention is none. That's the objective. Like,
okay.
What I really want is like you didn't notice. Like obviously we'll tell you, but we want you to not notice, or at least it's so simplistic. Reset your password, right? Something that they do regularly. We will keep you notified if, as we get farther into the project, we find that there are some things that we might have to change. There are also improvements, as Robert alluded to, that will be coming in future phases. That was one of the reasons for the action item was asking, why did we switch? As you heard, big change, right? But this also gets us on the path to more features than we would have had we stayed where we were. Some of that is to also help like the complexities of the MFA. So we will be looking at, and no promises because we're in planning. I see it on your face, Clarissa.
My next question.
But next phase, we'll definitely be looking at that. And if there's anything easy we could do that would make some of these things a little bit simpler in this period, we'll certainly be looking at that. In which case, then we would have some change management we have to do. So that's our intention. But until I get all the way through mobilization and we start doing some preliminary testing on all of these theories, I can't, lock that. I can't peg that in the sand at this point, but that's our intention.
And will you be able to have as you move into these different sections or there, where we're moving the migrations, are you going to have a place where you'll have feedback? You'll be able to solicit feedback from users and then, either pivot or, or update it or before you move to the next thing.
Yeah.
There'll be a placeholder for that.
So we intend to include users in testing before we actually go. But then, yes, it is our practice after every migration that we would take a look and say, well, that went smoothly. What should we continue? Or what do we need to try to work on? And the idea is that obviously we're doing some of these that have a smaller impact first. I'm not saying ServiceNow doesn't have an impact, but let's face it, you can still process eligibility whether ServiceNow is there or not. And you have a phone to call us, right? So it doesn't have the impact that the later ones will have.
And the last thing is, when you said it's going to start, where was it here? Oh, July. Is this July?
Yes.
Okay. Like in 3 months from now.
I guess I should put that.
I was like, okay, is this year or next year?
Yes, we are actually on the road to, and again, that initial migration you won't notice. We're doing that to our, we're doing that to,
It's ours.
yeah, we're doing that to ourselves. That's the non-production environment. So yeah, and you are going to hold me to that, aren't you? Angela? You're going to be like, hey, you said that is non-production environment. So nothing you use in production to deliver stuff every day should be affected in that July timeframe. That is actually us trying to get out in front of it. So we have a long runway in our non-prod environments to test core and benefits cal. So that's actually to our benefit that we get in there quickly. Does not mean I expect it's going to go perfect going in there that fast. But getting in there fast lets us really know and hammer out the complexities. Because keep in mind, we are moving to a new product. This isn't custom development. We're moving to a new product. We got to be sure that it's working the way we expected the product to work.
Thank you. I do have a question on this one. For the sake of, and I know Dawn, you shared that hopefully by next month, you'll have a timeline with the impacted applications. And I'm glad you shared that you're trying to make it as seamless for the users, and considering that if we're looking at imaging and CalSAUS, that they're ran together as much as possible so that staff do not have to have two different passwords as they log in, because those will take from productivity.
Yeah, that is definitely our intention, and we are working with our new vendor to make sure that we can migrate existing passwords, etc. So definitely keeping that in mind. And I think I might have mentioned last time, but do keep in mind we're relatively sensitive to you all having problems, not only because we don't want to cause you any problems, but remember, we are also your service desk, right? We're your CalSAUS service desk. We're also your Benefits Cal Technical Service Desk. So in order for us to continue to support you efficiently, we need to not cause major disruption. And we are the first line of defense to that. So we are very cognizant of how much of a challenge it is when login gets complicated. Particularly on the Benefits Cal Technical Service Desk. We are very sensitive to that item.
Thank you. And I see Sean.
Thank you. So I had a quick question. I know that, you've shared that there's a lot of efforts to make sure, as Sandra said, that, there's as seamless as possible. I just want to highlight that I think that we also should consider that if there are some things that are just unavoidable, that there would be some difference, that we kind of consider having a good communication campaign to alert all users, like, this is coming, these are going to be some of the changes, don't freak out, we didn't get scammed, it's not like being hijacked and taken over, you know what I mean? Because I think like security and any changes kind of start spooking people. So I know you're going to try to mitigate that, but if there is such a change, that we consider how we promote this to all the counties and users.
Yep, couldn't agree with you more. And that is why I mentioned that right from the start here, we've included an organizational change management person on the team.
Perfect.
So I'm hoping that the extent of their communication is, hey, we're going to do this on this day, be prepared, call these people if you have trouble, no change to you. If we identify changes along the way, it will be that individual is on point and on the team for the very purpose of developing communications that say, hey, there is going to be a change here. Here's how you do it. Here's a video on it. Here's your materials. Benefits Cal Technical Service Desk is up to speed, etc. We would also suggest, as we get closer, that, and we'll remind you all, but you should remind your folks about the use of the Benefits Cal Technical Service Desk, because if you get these problems, that's what they're there for, right? If people are having login problems, that is one of the biggest calls that they do handle. So we'll remind you, but as we get closer, you'll also want to remind your staff about how to use that, avail yourself of that resource.
Thank you for that, Dale.
Dawn, just a question on how will this be run? Is it a service? Is it like a SaaS solution, meaning we run off of the services provided by Okta, or does it get run inside your own area of the data center? Just wondering.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
We are actually going to be a SaaS. So as you're probably aware, Ping Identity runs inside of the CalSAUS environment as an on-prem in the cloud kind of a solution. We are moving to the Okta SaaS. However, there are still a number of components which we are responsible for in terms of all the integration points between that SaaS and every one of those systems that we're going to be talking about in more detail next time.
And the reason I'm asking that, if it's in a SaaS service, right, for such a critical component, what are the plans or mitigation strategies that you're putting in place, right? If there is outages on Okta services, for example. does this continue to run, or if Okta gets, right, if Okta goes down for whatever reason, what is our strategy?
Yeah, so similar to the way it works with paying, if you lose the front door, we lose the front door. Like we can't just suddenly open it up and say, "Hey, anybody who wants on to CalSAUS, go ahead." So that definitely has an impact. There's nothing we can do about that. However, as a part of the procurement process, we certainly did go for high availability. We have pretty hefty uptime requirements, and we did implement a disaster recovery. So we will have options in the event of an extended outage, similar to what we have with Ping today. But there is no bypassing our front door security.
Okay. So similar to the call center, AWS, right? If Connect goes down for whatever reason on their side, then we're kind of stuck. What is the historical uptime for Okta? I'm sure that was part of your selection criteria, right, Robert?
Yeah.
So
we actually did, as Robert alluded to there, a very extensive bake-off, I guess, between a couple of vendors. Started out with 3, actually whittled it down to 2, and did a very lengthy review of everybody, which did include their availability. We also have, I forget how many 9s in the uptime requirement. I can look it up for you and get that to you. But we put in very strict requirements around it. Then we also had ClearBest went ahead and actually talked to several of their clients as well to verify their uptime. And we also looked at some of their historical uptime statistics, and everything lined up properly. They are a very big provider of these services in the industry, and uptime when you're the front door is probably the most important criteria to keep your customers.
right. Thank you.
We Dan Dean with the QA team. We spoke specifically with 4 of their references, all large agencies and states who experienced no problems with their uptime. And relative to Lynn's question on change to the user, the meetings are happening now with Okta. There's about 3 to 4 per week. It includes the Benefits Cal team, the CalSAUS team, the imaging team. They're going persona by persona and row by row on these configuration files. And the mantra that Don's team is continuously repeating is, we must transition as is. They're throwing out new things and they're like, as is, and then we'll consider that. And if they find something that we have that they don't, they write that down as a customization, of which I think 1 has occurred so far. So that's a lot of details, but they are going through very microscopically with a mantra of no change as is for phase 1, consider other things in the future. And the reference checks were really, really, really good. One of them is very close to us and wants to meet with us all the time after we implement. So I think that's a good thing.
Thank you, Sandra.
All right, thank you.
Oh, wait, we got a couple
Okay.
hands. I think
Eduardo.
that's
We
we're
can
gonna go with Eduardo.
Okay, sorry, just jumped in.
Clarissa.
So just
run out of
kind of hearing about the end results of this should be, when it's completed, an effort to help the staff with the logging in, make it a little bit quicker. My understanding is it eliminates the one-time password.
So the phase 1 is migrating you over there.
Okay.
We'll look at if whether or not we can get something. Emma she's laughing at me. She's like, "Are you clarifying that enough?" We will look at anything that we can get in there without impacting the schedule or causing us to have massive amounts of training, right, in the first phase. Because you can see we got a pretty aggressive schedule here we're trying to get through. The reason we're trying to get through that schedule in this manner is because there are a number of benefits we're after. But we do intend to move those to phase 2. So some of the things you just mentioned, and I know the MFAs are irritating and the passwords are irritating. Some of those things are for security and they are going to stay. And some of those things can be done smoother. And so getting across to the migration will then open the door for us to move into making this an easier experience.
Okay, thank you.
So one-time password is staying.
For now.
So this
But it
is just.
should still be easier to log in.
So just so we're clear, we're not moving over to, as an upgrade, we have to move over to a new solution, right? So we're moving over as is, right? And so don't expect any improvements. If you go into this not expecting anything other than a seamless change, like I think that's kind of the goal, right? So don't, so it's you're not buying a brand new car, we're actually just moving you over to the exact same car. So next phase is later. Those are things that we're exploring, but the goal of this is not to make it any better. It's we need to move and we want it to be seamless. So if we can just kind of make sure we're understanding, that's not the goal of this.
So will this affect the contact center? Because we are, this is kind of the same time that, we're going to be doing the call summarization and, of course, other things are coming into light, like HR1 and all the changes. So I'm just looking at, there's going to be a lot of changes during this time and, hopefully they won't collide into each other.
Yeah, we are also very cognizant of that as well. We do actually layer all these changes to look at when can things go in. We have to do that in partnership with our M&E provider as well, because sometimes we have to ride the release train with them. Other times we can come in at times that are outside of that. So we do not in any way develop these schedules in a vacuum. That is looking at the portfolio of work we have, both for our own sanity and for yours, and making sure that we do coordinate with all of our partners, because if we step on a release or they step on our change, that doesn't benefit anybody. So we don't.
Sometimes you don't know what it is that if something fell out, you don't know exactly where it is.
Yes, we definitely do not do this in a vacuum. It's all layered and stacked. We present them as individual projects, but they are actually all layered and stacked. We're about to talk about the next one coming too, and coming shortly. But we do make sure that we stack these appropriately. And if we find that we're having collisions, we do all join together and look and make sure that we avoid those collisions.
Like seriously. Maybe not for July, but for those counties who are already on Okta, are you thinking about potential integration?
That question's already come up 2 or 3 times.
See?
So not in this phase.
That's what I said. Not
Just to be
July.
very, very clear. But yes, those conversations will occur as we move into phase 2 and phase 3. Again, no promises as to how that'll all fall out, but those conversations will be entertained after I get through this process.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
No more questions?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any public comment? Okay. Seeing none, we can move to the next. And it's overview of Oracle infrastructure update, and that's Don and Robert again.
Talk about another change that we have going on in the environment. So just again, laying the foundation for the story of where we are and how we got here. Our core application runs on an Oracle database hosted in AWS. As we continue to grow, we're starting to run up against constraints, and it's really important to make sure that all of our systems are performative, so we help support the efficiency of all the county workers. To that point, we went ahead and took a look at a way to improve that, or at least help from a cost avoidance standpoint as we continue to grow, as well as increase with performance. What we landed on is a solution called Exadata, which is purpose-built hardware for the Oracle database. And Oracle closely partners with AWS, and this hardware resides in their data centers, AWS data centers, with direct integration. And so the intent is to migrate from the AWS solution by itself to these new solutions as is. And I'll turn it over to Dawn to talk about kind of where we are and what's next.
All right. So in the interest of lining stuff up, another timeline chart on the next one here. So as you can see, we've been at this for a while. We went through our planning phase starting actually last year. And we are now in environmental stand-up. What that means is we do have those Exadata machines in the AWS environment. As Robert was indicating, they are stood up and we are in performance testing, which I'll talk about a little bit more on the next slide. We are also working on slipping ahead here a little bit on the non-production environment readiness, and have been working on that as well. So this one is currently on track to make that little purple star there in the August timeframe. I think we talked about this one a little bit last time, that we're sort of following through on changes that are going into the application in the August timeframe. And so we're following that. We're going to be following that release cycle through to make sure that the systems, the new databases, basically go through that entire production environment system. But I did want to talk a little bit more about performance requirements, because in this area on the next slide, because the area here really is going to be about how well this performs, right? If there's going to be an impact, it'll be performance related, and you can go to the next slide. So I do think we mentioned last time that we were doing some performance and functional testing rounds. We are doing that more than once. We are doing that in partnership with our M&E vendor, and we have been very closely watching this one to be sure that the performance is as good or better than what we have today. We established our baseline metrics in February, which really gave us the what does it look like out of the box. As Robert indicated, these are built to purpose, so their purpose in life is to run big Oracle databases, which CalSAS has a very big Oracle database. We then went from there to do some performance tuning. We were also able to get an important AWS network change in. We actually ended up AWS and Oracle worked together to get that to us actually early. Originally planned for April, they moved it into March for us, which means we were able to do our second baseline in early April, which we have completed. We're analyzing the results right now, but it does actually look good. We've run batch cycles. By we, I mean Deloitte. But they let us know how they went. And the performance has included the regular regression test to make sure that the functions are working. There actually have been no functional failures at all in the system. We've been really working on the performance area and making sure that it is as good or better from a speed perspective. And I think we are getting there, if not already there in terms of the speed. And we also do an endurance test. So it runs for 8 hours straight at very high volume to be sure that nothing falls over. And that was fine as well. So we just continue to do a little more tuning and tweaking. We're going to do a few more confirmation runs to be sure that the last run wasn't an anomaly and that it really is consistent. But other than that, I think we are almost through our baseline testing. Another one coming up here at the end of April, and that should be closing it out unless we find a problem, which will then put us on target to that August date. Question. Oh, sorry. Back to you, Sandra, for questions.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the PSC? Okay. Seeing none. Any public comment?
I have a question.
Oh, sorry, Del.
Yeah, just a quick. There was a while back. There was this thought of a microservices architecture, and I'm wondering if that has now shifted. Right now that we're going into Exadata, or does there continue to be a plan to look at certain areas of the system that are going to go into microservices architecture, while the core continues to be in Exadata?
Really,
Yeah, Del. So that's with us. We still are, the plan is TBD right now. We haven't flushed out the details, but I think we still would like to go there in terms of what that architecture would look like. We still have to decide on that.
And Del, I'll just add, this database change does not have an impact on whether we go to microservices or not. So it's not a determining factor.
I wonder if that was still kind of on the table, if you guys were still looking at it. Thank you.
No questions in the room, right, Julia?
No, there are no questions.
Okay. Any public comment? Okay. Seeing none, we can move to the next item, and it'll be workload management with Gerald.
Yep. Thank you, Sandra. So before we get into the bulk of the presentation here, I'll start with kind of an overview of what workload management redesign is and isn't and how we got here. So workload management redesign, this effort began back in 2024. And the effort was to take a look at CalSAS, enhance the usability and functionality of CalSAS in the area of assigning appointments, managing worker schedules, caseload assignment, caseload management, and the tracking of these activities, and to make it more user-friendly, easier to use, have access to the information needed to manage this work in one place as opposed to have to go in multiple places. The effort began by doing a lot of work in research and analysis and determining what those usability and feature and function requirements would be back in 2024. There was a long list of sessions. There was regional workshops that's kicked things off. There was a work group established to do some deep dives into the requirements. In addition, there were also specific county site visits, the 7 counties listed there, to go and observe how the functionality is being used, so get information right from the front line. All that information was put into the requirements analysis. Throughout all these meetings and process, there was a very close working relationship with the regional managers to get feedback, make any kind of course corrections and adjustments along the way, so that we could end up with that 150 plus requirements for workload management for the redesign effort at the end of this effort. I will highlight that workload management was the focus of this. What things aren't included in this redesign effort is your case management activities. So updating someone's address, for instance, processing redeterminations, other case maintenance activities, or the overall task management, which had actually gone through some redesign efforts prior to this effort here. At the end of 2025, the requirements was picked up and the detailed design and functional design effort began. So another work group was formed for workload management across the 6 regions. The requirements were analyzed again to make sure that the understanding was still the same. Then the designs were put together, going through the review cycles to determine how this would be actually implemented. One of the key parts of the implementation is this is a very large effort in the redesign. So taking digestible chunks at a time and prioritizing the most important things first. There are 2 phases for workload management. And the first phase is this May. So coming up in about a month, this functionality be released. And then a follow-up release with the remaining items will be in September of this year. And we can go to the next page and I will go talk about some OCM activities. So with any change of this large, there's going to be a significant potential impact to how business is done, right? So a key component of this is to put together a plan to handle that change, and that's the OCM plan here. So the OCM plan isn't something that happens once we build it and we get into test and we just throw out some demos or anything like that. This is something that comes really once we are getting into design, we begin doing the analyzing what the proposed changes are and what activities do we need to conduct to manage that change and increase the user adoption and make sure there's a clear understanding of what's coming out. So those activities have began in earnest in January, the design and planning. So there's an OCM plan, a lot of different types of communications and engagement points. Bring your attention to April, the month we're in. So right now we're in the testing phase of this. We have achieved a level of stability that the demonstrations have begun. They began this week. We've had a couple sessions and demos. Those have gone very well so far. I have some information, a little bit more details on those later. We'll get into it. Upcoming, as we go through the demos, there will be the county validation activities where we'll get feedback. There'll be the regular release broadcasts that go out. And then there will be post-go live support and for this particular effort after the release in May. Next slide, please. All right. during the last group of meetings that we had with PSC and JPA, there was a desire to understand a little bit more of the details surrounding this workload management redesign. So we set up a series of regional meetings, regional briefings with all the regions, where we did some deep dives into, history, the requirements, the actual designs, and ended up going into some side-by-side comparisons of how it works right now versus how it's going to work in the folder. Open it up to any questions on the subject. It was a good interactive session. And I think there was a lot of information conveyed out to the counties, and I think it helped alleviate some of those questions. So that is what has happened since the last meeting. We can go to the next slide. We'll go back to kind of how the functionality and the changes are divided out between the two phases. You can see the bulk of the stuff in phase one: appointment management, schedule management, workload management, kind of an overall management view of a worker's activities, and then some additional configuration changes are going in 2605, which is May. In phase two, the remaining items, some changes to adding some prioritization criteria to workload management, different ways to handle appointment tasks, and then some additional overall reports. Now, on the reports piece, there's a couple things to take in consideration here. There's more than a dozen existing reports on workload management. Those are not changing. They'll still be there and available. These are in addition to the existing reports, some additional views on this. And also, since we have the analytics effort going on at the same time, these will be worked with closely with where we're going in that direction. So these types of changes are incorporated in that effort as well. Okay, next slide. All right, going back to some of our OCM activities and outreach efforts. So one of the things that's happened right now in the month of April, and everybody's looking at the slide, can probably see all those April dates in there. We began our targeted demonstrations for specific user groups over the next couple weeks. And these are to give a tailored view of the new features and functions and usability that's coming in this area to specific groups. So those three groups: operations staff, which are essentially everyday users; supervisors, managers, think of that as office and unit oversight; and then system administrators, some of the people that manage the workload area from an administrative capability. So those sessions are ongoing this week and will continue into next week and the following week to wrap up. And then we can go to the last slide here. This wasn't a specific action item that came out of this group, but I thought it was good to bring it here also. This was something that came out of the JPA. It was a question from Sacramento County regarding another SDR that was out there regarding banked caseload. So we have currently, bottom line, the relook at the bank caseload did not make part of the redesign effort and it was not prioritized, but we are engaging with Sacramento County to understand kind of what their perspective and needs were here and see if any changes are warranted or if there's something that they can do operationally to achieve the same outcome with the existing functionality. So with that, I conclude this area and back to you, Sandra.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the PSC? Yes, Jamie.
Okay, can we go back to slide 26, please? I have a question regarding the overall management phase one. Can you give us a little more information about the overall management? I don't want to get too excited about what I think it may be. So if you could just share some more information.
Good question. Well, hopefully you're excited, but what the overall management is referring to is right now there's a lot of separate pages where you go look at your tasks that are assigned to you or your cases that are assigned to you or your appointment schedule or your worker schedule. And so all those pages exist there. What this is about the creation of a My Work dashboard that will pull all those pages together in one location so you can see everything at once, with the ability to go ahead and drill down into those pages the details that are in those detail pages as needed to go and look at the details. Now, nothing is changing on the existing pages, so they're still all there. So if you wanted to continue managing your efforts that way by going directly to those pages, you certainly can. What this addition does in this new piece here is just give you a one place to go and get everything at a glance and a launching point to go to the details. So that's what the overall management is.
Okay, thank you.
I do have to say that this workload management phase has been, this design has been the best that I felt as far as implementation goes, just from the start, getting all the counties involved and getting the feedback. I think the way that the demos are being delivered and how you guys are phasing those in, that has been the best approach. So I appreciate that so much from Riverside County. So thank you. Any other questions? Any other questions from the PSC? Okay. Any public comment? Okay, seeing none, hearing none. Moving to the next topic, and it is HR1 work groups update with Roger and Frederick.
Roger, is Roger on?
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I was double muted here. Good morning, Roger Perez, CalSAW's Policy Design Manager. Before we dive into our work group update, I do want to provide a quick update on our upcoming HR1 ABOD policy system changes being implemented to meet the June 1st policy effective date. So we have 3 SCRs tracking this effort. The first SCR is adding the ABOD time limit exception screening form to the CalWorks and CalFresh RE packets. This is targeted for implementation on April 30th. The second system change is really the core changes to ABOD. This includes the age limit change and the updates to the exemptions. This change is targeted for our CalSAW's May release that will go out on May 18th. And then the last change is updates to align to the latest state version of the CalFresh 886 form that informs CalFresh households of their work registration and ABOD status. This change is also aligned to our May release, so will be deployed to production on May 18th. All 3 of these system changes have been delivered to our system test team. They are being validated by our project test teams as well as county validation. They started their validation efforts on these SCRs, and they're on track for our June 1st policy effective date. Additionally, in terms of outreach, these changes will be covered as part of a dedicated demo on May 12th. And we also have corresponding job aid, quick guides, and web-based training updates. Next slide, please. So moving on to our HR1 ABOD enhancement workgroup update. As a reminder, this workgroup was established to gather ABOD CalSAW system enhancements to support counties in administrating the ABOD policy changes and to improve the worker experience during processing. This workgroup included representation from 17 of our counties listed here across all 6 regions, along with state participation. They began meeting in mid-December, and they completed defining the requirements and prioritization of those requirements in mid-February. Next slide. So in total, there were 6 system enhancements that were identified and prioritized. To better reflect these enhancements or to better reflect these requirements as enhancements, we have added a current state column that describes the current system functionality. So I won't go through all of these, but I'll pick a few as examples. We'll use the first one. So the first one is around the Cares for a Child Under 6 work requirement exemption. Currently, today in the system, there is no automated system check to alert workers when a child is no longer in the home, requiring manual confirmation by the worker on whether this exemption should still apply. So to better ensure that this exemption is applied correctly, the work group proposed adding a EDBC validation check to confirm that child is in the home before the exemption is assigned. Now, we did have a request to see if we can advance the implementation of these enhancements. The team took that back and has confirmed that 2 of the 3 system change requests tracking these 6 enhancements could be advanced for earlier implementation. The first system change, which is tracking this exemption here on the slide, is targeted for our July release. So it's been moved up from end of summer to July. The second system change request has been moved up to follow that baseline release, so the September baseline release from previously it being targeted to the end of the year. And then the next 3 enhancements that we'll get into in the next slide are targeted for our November release. So here are the 3 other enhancements that the work group prioritized. These really cover streamlining processes. For example, the work group wanted an enhancement to allow workers to record educational hours directly from the school attendance detail page. So that is that first enhancement that we see here. And then the next 2 are around streamlining the form generation process. So rather than having the worker navigate over to the template repository, is allowing the CalFresh 887 form that requires or that tracks medical conditions to be generated from the medical condition page, as well as the CalFresh 88 form that tracks volunteer hours, allowing that to be directly generated from the non-scheduled work activity page, reducing the number of clicks and pages that the worker would otherwise have to do to generate that form. So with that, I'll hand it over to Sharon to cover the next work group update.
Okay, good morning. So for the Medi-Cal work requirements as well as the 6-month redeterminations, I know we've mentioned this before, and we have a county work group going on, and it's been going on since January. And what it is to work with the county so that they can define and review and approve the design of these new functionalities. And we're very thankful that we have all 6 regions involved, as well as representatives from 16 counties. So far, the county work group has completed, work requirements includes, going through data collection and identifying exemptions wherever possible, as well as there are work requirements and community engagement requirements. And so the work group has completed going through a lot of the screens, the majority of the screens for work requirements. And they have started moving on to the 6-month redeterminations, and the 6-month redeterminations for Medi-Cal are for a subset of individuals. They will, instead of be going through a 12-month redetermination, will now be going through a 6-month redetermination. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the PSC? And I
Done
do,
yet.
sorry, yes.
We're not done yet.
Oh, this is the next segment. This is benefits count, right?
Yes. So all HR1 work groups.
Okay.
Okay. So this is Frederick Gaines, Benefits Cal Director. I'm going to go over the Benefits Cal work groups that ran in conjunction with the CalSAWS work groups. Just a little history behind that. We started these work groups back in the fall. And then with their target audience was our advocates and our state partners and our CWDA members. So I'm just going to briefly go over what we've accomplished so far with the 4 work groups: the CalFresh processing, the ABOD, the TRUV, and the Medi-Cal. So with the CalFresh processing work group, we have 23 requirements captured, and they have been prioritized then and ranked by our advocates work group. They sent those back to us, and then we forwarded those requirements over to the CalSAWS committees, and they are reviewing those to provide their feedback. Once we receive that feedback, those enhancements will then be logged, and they will be worked through our complete UCD process, through the process to be prioritized and put into the system. ABOD, we have 36 requirements captured, 10 of those incorporated into the 6-1 release that will be coming up. All policy items have been added. The other enhancements that will be logged are just enhancements that will help the ABOD process, but we are compliant. We'll be compliant with the June 1st ABOD policy items. Next, our TRUV work group. We presented at the UCD monthly meeting yesterday. We received positive feedback from all parties involved, that's DHCS, CDSS, as well as the advocates and our counties. And we'll be presenting a phase 2 approach to that in our next monthly meeting when we take that feedback back and present again for May. And then our Medi-Cal requirements work group, the requirements we have 30 requirements that have been captured. Those have been bundled and sent to the work group for prioritization, or they will be responded back to, and then those requirements will then be forwarded over to the Medi-Cal CalSAWS committee for county feedback. And then just looking forward, as mentioned earlier, for ABOD, our HR1 policy changes are in development, and they will be coming in the 2604 release at the end of April. And then our Medi-Cal changes are underway for retroactive Medi-Cal for release later this year. And then our TRUV design is also on schedule for 2607 release as well. It's the only slide we had. So
back to Sandra.
Thank you, and sorry about that, Rod. I was jumping ahead, so I apologize. I'm trying to get ahead of myself. So, all right. Any questions or comments from the PSC?
There were, Sandra, there were a few questions in the chat from
for Sean, right?
Yeah, Sean. Yeah. So yeah, we can just say it out loud for the record. Okay. On the Sean asked on the, she was having mic issues. For the child in a home change, will the alert be aligned with the RE or anytime EDBC is run? And I think, Roger, you put it in there, but can you share that out?
Yeah, so the current design being worked through with the committee is for all the EDBC runs. It is not a hard validation. It is just an alert that informs the worker to just confirm whether that exemption should still be applied since the child is out of the home.
And then the second question from Sean was on the Medi-Cal work groups. Are there any CDSS reps included? It would be helpful to see where CalFresh functionality screens can be leveraged for Medi-Cal. Sharon?
There are no CDSS reps. DHCS, CWD, CalHERS is included. What we did ask of the county participants is that they have both Medi-Cal and CalFresh experience, because there is, especially if they had ABOD experience.
I do see a question from Dale.
This is regarding the Medi-Cal work groups. With so many changes, can you remind me again, Fred, if counties are getting a copy of this requirements? That's the question number one. I know that I don't think we're part of like the joint the advocates and the CWDA group and whatnot. So is there a place where we can review these requirements? And correct me if I'm wrong, if we have access to them, right? That's question one.
Yes, they are going through the CalSAWS committees, the CalWorks, CalFresh committees, and the Medi-Cal committees, where the counties are will receive those and provide feedback if they want to make comments or suggest any other requirements. So that's where the county involvement will come into play.
Got it. Got it. So at the review of the design, correct, of these items of the requirements, or at the review of the requirement themselves?
Review of the requirements, but then once they go through, once they are logged and received, and once they're picked for implementation at that point, then the counties will be involved as well through the complete UCD process. I don't know if you, we reviewed that at JPA last week. We can definitely bring that review here as well.
Okay, got it, got it. As far as testing, I know in the past we have asked the question of benefits cal changes that are going in that are not related to a CalSAWS change, whether we have the ability to test them. Is that going to be available for these? There's quite a bit of changes that are going into benefits cal.
Yes, the plan, I'm sorry, were you finished?
No, that was it. Thank you.
Yes, the plan is to take these major updates and align them with the CalSAWS baseline release, so they would fall in the preview of the county validation process. So then they would be able to validate in their normal processes.
So as long as they align with the release, then we have access in benefits cal to go and test it, even if there is no linked CalSAWS change, right? It's a matter of the timing.
Correct.
Okay. Sounds good. For the ones that are not, sounds like most of them are going to be, are there some that are not going to be, so that we're just looking out for them? I know that in the past we've found some items that it would be helpful, I think, to have more eyes on benefits cal changes, right? It's just helpful.
We are trying to align them all with the CalSAWS release.
Got it.
Future, we plan to move our benefits cal releases all to bi-monthly, so that they will all match with the CalSAWS releases. That's something that we're planning on doing maybe late summer. So yes, we have heard the request, and we're want to address that. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. I do see on the chat that Teresa wrote CDSS attends and DHCS county work groups, the county work groups. So Sharon, for the as the teams, I know there are SMEs that are attending these work groups from the counties, but at the end of the day, we are assessing that it all aligns with the policies that we're getting, right?
Yes, we are. And, that's why, DHCS has separate meetings with the counties that CalSAWS also participates. But that's also why during the CalSAWS work group for these efforts, we do have DHCS present, especially because sometimes the counties or the discussion leads to policy questions and clarification.
Perfect. Thank you. Any other questions from the PSC?
Yes, this is Lynn.
Yes.
Hi, just for clarity, I just kind of wanted to go back for a minute on the requirements for the 36 requirements for ABOD. You said 10 were incorporated into the June 26 policy changes. Yes. So those have gone through the CalFresh committee already, because June is pretty quick.
Yes, they have, the requirements have been sent over to the CalFresh committee.
Okay.
Yes, but the main thing is the policy items and the requirements are two separate things. So we made sure that we captured the policy items, and then any other requirements, enhancements that would help the customers input information more clearly. Those are the other requirements that were added. Some of them were added to meet the June timeframe, and then other ones will be added in at a later time when there's ability and time to get them in.
Is there any thought or anything about, because I'm not familiar, I don't go with all of these changes, just to see what these changes are going to be? in totality? Oh, there is.
Yeah, that's what I think we have, and we've shared, it's not in this deck, but where we show like there's a pairing across the CalSAWS and the benefits Cal, changes just to make sure when they're there's a consistent handoff between the two systems, right? And so that's what Fred is talking about, because some of the policy changes do require a front end like benefits Cal change, and we just want to make sure that they match up.
Okay, so you've done that. That's somewhere.
That's what we do.
We can access.
All right.
I have a question.
Yes.
The targeted the ABOD HR1 policy changes that are in development, they're gonna be released this month.
Yes.
Benefits count.
Which I'm gonna cover in the slide coming.
Oh, I'll wait. I do have another question on slide 31. I think this where the demo that's planned for ABOD changes that are coming up in June 1st. The demo that's planned on May 12th and the job aids that are all coming up, wonderful. I love it, by the way. But I think it's so close. It's so close to implementation. So what I'm hopeful, this really is a comment, a request, is when we go live with the Medi-Cal changes in the future for January, whatever those things are, that we maybe have those training materials available to the counties ahead of time, because we do our own training as well, to follow the training and demos that CalSAWS does. So if you could have it just a little bit before, that would be helpful to us.
So I want to comment on that. I think for these policy changes, we got them out. We are crunched to get them out before June 1st. These policies are very recent, and so we didn't really have a lot of runway, right? And so we're really kind of flying down the street and building the plane, at the same, you would flying and building the plane at the same time. You wouldn't fly into the street. So we do as much as we can to give as much lead time. We don't often get that luxury, especially with the HR1 changes, where we just got policy clarification, and we literally started requirements design build right away. You all do have access now to actually go in and play around with this, right? So we want to do that, but also because of some of the testing does require change, like we make changes, the aids have to go after that, right? So once we get through testing, we don't want to create aids and then there's something that's tweaked, in the design, and then those are no longer accurate. So I want to say we hear you, but also we are not sitting on this code. We're releasing it right as it's available. And so that doesn't really always give us a lot of, runway as well. So, Roger, do you have anything else to say on that?
No, you covered it well. It's we're testing. There could be bugs, and so when we get these when we are releasing these training materials, we want to make sure that the code base is stable, everything has been validated, that it's conforming to the approved design, that it's gone through the county validation rigor to confirm everything's correct. So that's why, right, a lot of these training materials that have screenshots tend to come, post those activities.
Okay. No other questions from the PSC? Any public comment? Okay, seeing none, hearing none, we'll move to the next topic, and it's policy and release update with Ramya, Rachel, and Michelle.
Good morning, everyone. This is Ramya. I'll cover the OCM updates for FSED. So looking at a 2026 timeline here, earlier this quarter, starting January through March, the team put together a very comprehensive OCM plan, and also coming up with some reusable communication templates that will serve us through the rest of the year for stakeholder communications. Also, the team was involved in a lot of EUSD3 prep and support activities that ran through February through April of 2026. Looking at communications and engagement, starting January of this year, we started distributing newsletters, and this will continue every month through Go Live. So this will have focused topics on FSED and upcoming dates and milestones. Additionally, one another key activity that is happening currently is our targeted demo sessions. So starting March of this year, we have very focused functionality updates that are also recorded and shared out to the group at the end of every session. So all of these are also posted in a resource SharePoint, and the demos are going to continue through the end of April. The team is also working through a large number of FAQs that were received through our EUSD3 feedback and also on the functionality. Again, this is a running list. The teams will continue to update this and share it with the group. Bulletins are going to be distributed or created in May, and we have identified job aids, quick guides, and online changes that will all be published through the usual communication channels. So all of this is in terms of our communication and engagement. Looking into our summer and early fall timeframe, we are going to start with our readiness activities, getting a gauge on the county readiness. So that will include pulse check surveys and a go live readiness checklist. And towards the end of our November timeframe, when we are closer to go live, we'll have focused go live communications, followed by additional support structures that will be in place for the actual post go live support itself. But more to come on that. We're still planning that through to the end of go live phase. But this is what we have at this point, and I'll take a quick pause to see if there are questions. Communication materials will be released per the usual channels, job aids through Curfees and broadcast communication channels for web-based training updates. But all of those, none of the mode of how we communicate to the counties is going to change. It's just the actual documents that are changing. Thank you. Any additional questions? All right, on production. Sorry.
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, on production simulation. So again, this is an avenue for the county users to get some hands-on experience on the FSET functionality after EUSD3. So EUSD3 just ended. So this gives additional opportunity for the county users. So this is this simulation environment is a exclusive environment connected with our CARES. And this is going to mimic production-like environment, as in it's a sandbox environment. It's going to have production-like data in there. And we're looking at it from running it from early May through end of October. Again, the users are able to test using new data or synthetic data, and also we would enable cases that are known to CARES and CalSOS. They'll be linked together so users can get experience on sending some change transactions to CARES and processing them to CalSOS. This actually just mimicking in a day in a life of after the FSET goes live. Again, from a county participation standpoint, the Curfees are being developed. So there's going to be a recruitment activity. So we're looking at sending this Curfee out by end of this week or early next week. And we are closely aligning with the timelines that we have on the CARES side. So we're looking at the participants to be in there by mid-May and getting them all getting their accesses by end of May and first week of June. And in terms of support itself, we are trying to keep it very similar to how we had it in EUSD3. There's going to be a kickoff closer to mid-May when the participants will start coming in, and we'll provide an orientation around how to use the environment, what to expect, what is the support structure going to look like, the office hours, and how to log findings, and how do you retest once the findings are resolved. But all of this will, again, mimic EUSD3 and more to come. All of this will be provided closer to when we do the kickoff for production simulation. So I'll take a quick pause and see if there are questions.
Rolling through.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, finish the slide.
All right, I'll pick up here. EUST3 just completed. It's a form of maybe county validation. What you see here are the number of counties that participated. We had actually at the end of this 34 that participated. There were 106 participants. There were 9 target scenarios that folks tried to get through. These numbers are reflective of a couple of weeks ago. We actually ended up with 301 findings. Out of that, we ended up with 24 defects, 14 of them being a CalSAWS version. The other ones are with the CARES and being evaluated. And we had 25 total observations, which 23 of those on our CalSAWS side. And I can report that on the CalSAWS side, all of them are being evaluated for go live and 2 of them for post. So the analysis has been ongoing. And those items will be available for counties to be able to validate in production simulation.
All right, I think this is me. Hello, Michelle Peterson. I'm just gonna highlight real quick some things we have coming up in releases, some of which Roger highlighted again earlier about for our May release, we have HR1 ABOD changes, and then we have a big workload management. And then as we move into June, which is super exciting month, we move to CalHERS release. I'll refrain. We move to our CalHERS release, and then another effort for changing that retro Medi-Cal period. And then July, we have some additional ABOD enhancements from our CalFresh HR1 ABOD work group. And then if we could go on to the next slide. So this is just our standard release slide to show you where we're at. And right now we're in our system test phase. County validation is going on in this period. And then we have our release webcast, which is coming up the week of May 12th. And I believe that's all for me, and I'll turn it back to you, Sandra.
Thank you, Michelle. Any comments or questions from the PSC? And I do see one question in the chat from Sean. It's how are the communication materials being released to counties? And this was for Ramya for CARES.
Hi, Sandra. I answered it through that process. So we're going to use the same communication channel for the counties that exists for job aids, which is through the CURFEs, and of course, WBTs will be through the broadcast channel. So everything that we've been doing as a standard process that will follow, just the documents are getting updated, but will follow through the same mode of communication.
I do have one.
Go ahead. Sorry, if I could just add to what Ramya said, that if it's a job aid or a WBT, that'll go in with a release and available in online help as we get closer to the FSED go live. Any quick guides or the newsletters, like those are coming out via CIT. And I think the quick guides get uploaded to the LMS eventually. But anything that is not within the context of CalSAWS training, job aids, WBTs, those will go out via CIT.
And just a quick question for go live, we're expecting all counties to go live on CARES on the same date, correct?
Yes.
That is the current plan.
Okay. What date is that?
We are tracking October 26th.
October 25th?
26th. So 25th will be the deployment. So 26th will be the go live.
And so everybody will go at once.
Yes.
Okay.
Is there any anticipated potential issues with other CalSAWS? I know it's CARES, but any potential issues with it impacting CalSAWS at all?
So
Ramya, bonus.
Sorry, Sandra, didn't mean to cut you off, but I'll take this one, Ramya. So for CalSAWS, there's no conversion Like, it's just, worker logs in today and you may get transactions from the FSED API's interface on that first day. We don't anticipate any slowness. The team has done some performance testing, and we'll do some more performance testing as we get closer to go live. But it should appear just as a regular business day. But you're getting electronic information about foster care, King Gap, and AAP, where on Friday it was manual, like someone's handing you a piece of paper. Right. So do not expect.
Is there a two-way going back to CARES?
Yes, so there are, where CalSAW sends data to CARES. I think somewhere we're working on putting together what that number is. And then we also have a number of APIs that are data's coming to CalSAWs.
Thank you for that. Any other questions from the PSC?
I think it's a little bit different, like how does CARES work? I think that's kind of the critical piece in this. I mean, if I'm not seeing it correctly, how that works.
Yeah, you're spot on. I mean, it's really on the care side where from a risk perspective and where a lot of the attention is care.
So we've always got the backup plan to go back to paper.
It's reverting back to manual.
So I'm just trying to figure that out. Thank you.
Any public comment? Seeing none, hearing none, we'll move to the next topic, Benefits Cal, and this is Fred and Owner.
Well, this is good. Owner's going to take over this one.
Thank you, Fred. Good morning, everyone. This is Owner here from the Benefits Cal team. So one of our CalSAW's objectives is, enhancing user experience and self-service access, of course, in parallel to staying compliant with the final policy and the regulations. And you also heard us stating the streamlining administrative processes for our counties as a lot. So in alignment to those goals, I will be, quickly sharing a couple of highlights and examples of what is coming up this month and the upcoming months soon. Starting with this month in April, as Roger and Fred touched upon earlier, as well as Michelle, this month we will be updating Benefits Cal to be compliant with the final HR1 policy on the about time limits and qualify for exemptions. Of course, since these are based on the policy, there's a specific dates that we will be making certain features visible for the customers, depending on the areas that we are updating on the portal. For example, as of effective May 15, for about exemptions and work requirements for CF37 recertification flow is going to be visible for customers. And based on the policy guideline, again, effective June 1st, then we will be, when the state waiver is lifted, we will be turning on certain features such as about exemption and work requirements on the AFP flow, support request flow. The changes that we are making on the customer dashboard as well as the help center, they will be all enabled effective June 1st. The only CF37 piece is going to be enabled on May 15. Rest is going to be June 1st after the state waiver. Following that, if we move on to the May release, there are two key highlights for the May release. One of them is regarding the office routing. This is when we are guiding customers to which office they can go to. There is an office mapping API which they can access, either apply for benefits flow, or they can do a global search on the Benefits Cal itself in the homepage. If the certain offices are only accepting e-applications, we will not be showing them in the help center or the global search. We will be only showing them during the apply for benefits flow when the application can be routed to. So those changes are going in the May release. And from the appointment standpoint, in order to improve usability for customers, historically speaking, the customers had an opportunity to select from a general dropdown for appointment types. CalSAW system portal also made some changes recently to make it easier and more intuitive for customers, adding an appointment category on top of the type. So on Benefits Cal, starting May release, after the May release, customers will have opportunity to select an appointment category, then a type, to improve it, make it more intuitive for customers. Moving on to the June release, as Sharon touched upon earlier, we have the HR1 retroactive medical requirements changes coming up. And in order to, like you already know, that we will be making some changes on the Benefits Cal and the expense module specifically. So the customers will no longer have ability to specify how many months they will be requesting. It will be determined by the rules engine in the downstream, 2 months or 1 month, depending on the aid code that they are eligible for. And those changes on the benefits call are going in the month of June. And another highlight for the June release is the application case dropdown changes update. So this is a feedback we have been hearing from our customers and our advocacy partners through UCD CX channels regarding when an individual has multiple applications or the cases. They're kind of confused. They need more maybe help to make it more intuitive which one to choose during support requests from doc upload or other areas in a notifications area. We will be adding counties specifically for that, case or an application. So they will have, more clarity on that. And we are no longer, showing if the application is in progress or deleted already. So that piece is taken care of. But this is to add one more flavor to the dropdown to make it more easier for customers, as well as minimizing the possibility for the errors when they're uploading documents. And I will also provide an update on the action item as Julia touched upon in the beginning of the meeting regarding the doc upload. This was tied to from our February PSC meeting when I was sharing the folks who are exiting the application or exiting the doc upload, during the upload action itself. And they had asked me a question of what percentage of the customers are coming back after exiting from the doc upload standpoint. So we looked into logs and the session parameters. Around 22% of the customers who are exiting after doc upload coming within 1 day, and 33% of the customers are coming back within a week. So in total, 55% of the customers that are exited during doc upload coming back within a week to complete that action, essentially. Sandra, with that, that was end of my updates. I will pause here for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the PSC? You did a really great job. Any public comment? Okay, seeing none, hearing none, we'll move to the next topic, and it's Benefits Cal transition update with Lisa.
Hello, everyone. Lisa Salas here, so I'll walk us through the transition update. So since these slides were put together, I'll give you some real-time statistics. We are in month 3 of the transition. Again, a transition in place which is 6 months long. We are wrapping up knowledge transfer. That was kind of the first phase of transition, and we're at 87% complete. We have about 7 sessions left spread over the next 3 weeks to get done on knowledge transfer. The second phase of activity is what we call job shadow, which is where we have working sessions and see activities, development activities being done in real time. So right now we're about 20% complete on job shadow. We have targeted on this schedule to be done with most job shadow activities by the end of this month. That was the original schedule. Some of our work streams are on track and moving along very nicely as it relates to job shadow. We have at the project at our risk meeting last week, we've got about 4 risks we track as it relates to transition activities. We did create an issue around job shadow, and it's specific to our SCR work stream, which is in group 3 towards the bottom of the chart. Again, based on availability of staff to support those job schedule activities, we are kind of backloaded and will not complete them by the end of April. The collective transition teams have been working hard to get them scheduled and kind of consolidate job shadows. And a lot of progress has been made over the past 2 weeks. That being said, we will see an overlap in our job shadow activities for SCRs with our reverse job shadow. So I'll give an example I gave to the board last week. What does that mean? So if we think about testing activities, May 1, we will be able to start doing reverse job shadow for manual testing activities. So we can create scripts, we can log into an environment, we can run manual test cases. We will not be starting automated regression testing. There's a future job shadow for that. We need access to the tools. And so that will occur at a later point. But by and large, we'll be able to start all the testing activities on that work stream. So again, it's being replanned, it's being tracked at the project level to get everyone's agreement on the new plan, and we'll continue to move it forward. The other challenge that we've run into is around access and enablement. And again, this is specific to development environments and the project staff. So I want to make that clear. From an access perspective, the way environments are accessed today needs to change. So, we had wanted to transition in place to the extent possible. In this area, there are some changes that the technology folks and security folks are working through in terms of how we access the development environments. Similarly, from an enablement perspective, once you get in, there are certain tools. There are some tool sets that need to change because they are will be deprecated and unable to be accessed come 8/1. So we're working through a subset of tools and looking at what is the future tooling and how do we get that set up and enabled. And so, for example, another example there is around code scanning and the tooling that is used there that needs to change as we move forward. So great progress on a lot of work streams, just a couple of areas where we are replanning, and collectively the team is focused on getting that plan put together, enacted, and keep this transition on track and moving forward, and keeping the goal of being seamless to our customers and counties as we go forward. Next slide. Again, these are just some stats I covered earlier. I gave you the real time, we're at 87%, and from a document request standpoint, we're at 95%. Back to you, Sandra.
Thank you, Lisa. Any questions or comments from the PSC? Okay. Any public comment? Seeing none and hearing none, we'll move to the next topic, and it's CalSA's Learning Exchange update with Peggy.
Good morning, PSC. Peggy Macias, Customer Engagement Director, and I'm going to give you our latest update regarding our CalSA's Learning Exchanges. So just as a reminder, our Learning Exchange sessions are designed to provide timely and relevant education for our regions and counties on topics that they have identified or that we've identified, and also allows some time for Q&A, real-time Q&A. We work with the counties whenever possible to have them join us in our sessions to provide real-time experience and lessons learned for the various subjects. And we also work with the project teams to identify potential topics for upcoming sessions and to avoid any redundancies or duplication of efforts. Next slide, please. So in March, we had 2 sessions. We held a session on delegated administrators as well as our CalFresh payment error rates with CDSS. So I'll first talk about our delegated admin session. So that was held on March 17th and 18th. And that session was attended by 233 participants representing 48 counties. And this session provided our users with an overview and demonstration of the Delegated Administration Portal and its key functions, which included the system rights and managing one-time passwords, plus navigation and functionality. So it was, as you can see, it was pretty well attended. This session was conducted by Arnoni and her team, and the feedback that we got, we didn't get any. We didn't do the survey that we normally do, but we did reach out to get some feedback on how our participants, felt the session went, and we got some good feedback from Region 1. Solano County shared that they appreciated the delegated admin session refresher and that overall it was informative and helpful. And from Region 6, LA County noted that the great job by the original project staff rock stars, Christina Carter and Jamala Rule, and they recommended that the counties review the helpful session on this topic. Next slide, please. Our second session was held we had one session in the month of March on the payment error rate. And this was conducted in partnership with CDSS, so they were the main presenters. And this gave, the counties an overview describing what a PER is and the structure, how it's calculated, what's included in the completion rate, how QC works. Plus the session covered HR1 impacts. It was a well-attended session. We had well over 500 participants, as you can see, 587, representing 50 counties. That's phenomenal. I think the most, well, that's the next slide. Our partners at CDSS did a fantastic job in presenting the information, and it was very well received. Both sessions, the information will be has been posted on the communication portal now, previously the web portal. I think we're just waiting on Q&As to be finalized with CDSS and their session, and then we'll post those as well. Next slide, please. So with our session with CDSS, this was the most comments that we received from any CLE session that we've held. We had, and I think the most resounding thing was that all the comments that we received were positive. So this is just a snapshot of some of the feedback that was received from the county. So as you can see, it was very much appreciated. The partnership was appreciated, and they're hoping that we continue to do these types of sessions in the future. Next slide, please. So this is a snapshot of our timeline. So you could see that in April, we have our collection session coming up at the end of the month. We are going to be pivoting with our June and August session topics. We're going to flip them. So we're going to do skipped issuance in June and do the overview with the RCMs and work groups in the month of August. So next month, you'll see that update on the slides. Next slide, please. So as always, when we get ready to, advertise for our sessions, the counties will receive a notification letting them know, what's coming up and the dates. We are always looking for counties to collaborate with us. So if you have not been identified as a participant with any of our sessions, you see the calendar, please reach out to your RM if your county is interested or has some valuable insight to provide during any of those sessions, and we'll get that going. And as always, any future topics for CLE sessions are always welcome. So please share those with your regional managers, and we will put those in, on our list for figuring out when is the best time to, schedule those. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Sandra, for questions.
Thank you so much, Peggy, and we do appreciate these police sessions. Any questions or comments from the PSC? Okay, any public comment? Okay, seeing none and hearing none, we'll move on to the next topic, and it's our state partner updates. And we have OTSI first, Steve.
Hey, good morning, Sandra. This is Neha Dhawan from OTSI. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I have a couple quick updates. On March 23rd, Deloitte Portal Mobile Amendment 2 was submitted to CMS, and a federal walkthrough was held for both Deloitte Amendment 2 and ClearBest Change Order number 10 on April 2nd. We received FNS approval for the ClearBest Change Order number 10 on April 3rd. On March 30th, OTSI received CalSAW's June 2026 OAPDU, and we formally submitted it to CDSS and DHCS for state review. That's it from OTSI. Thank you, Sandra.
Thank you. We have CDSS.
Yes, hi, good morning. Martha Esparza, CDSS. Today, I do have some highlights and topics that I'm going to go ahead and be reporting out. I'm going to begin by highlighting 3 policy letters. First one is ACL 2613, CalWorks program, new state funded Maintenance of Effort Eligible Aid Code 5U. This letter establishes a new state-funded MOE Aid Code 5U for CalWorks, supporting two-parent households who exceeded the 60-month federal time limit, but remain otherwise eligible. ACL 2616, CalWorks and CalFresh implementation of new income exemptions per AB 42. Effective March the 1st of 2026, AB 42 excludes education-related financial assistance such as grants, scholarships, and loans from income for CalWorks and CalFresh, and provides policy direction that if the household retains these funds, they will be exempt as a resource as well for 12 months. Last letter is ACL 2593E, which is an errata, ACL 2593, CalFresh implementation of HR 1, changes to time limit for ABOD policy. This erratum provides a clarifying policy regards to the exemption of having a child under age 14, which now applies when the child is in the same CalFresh household. I'm going to be sharing information on some CDSS-led touch points and a time-sensitive item. So, of course, in continued effort to strengthen collaboration, CDSS is convening counties, CalSAWs, and advocates to support implementation of HR 1 with the focus on how policy and automation decisions translate into local operations and improve accuracy. The next upcoming virtual HR 1 implementation CDSS-led touchpoints are going to be HR 1 CalFresh Implementation County Operations Group, which will be held on May the 5th at 3 p.m., and the HR 1 CalFresh Implementation Advisory Group, which will be held on May the 12th at 10:30. And the last thing I have is just a time-sensitive update. So to assist individuals that may be subject to the new HR 1 ABOD work requirements and time limits, CalFresh Policy has developed a work and community engagement requirements screener tool as an outreach tool. This tool can also be utilized by CBO partners to support clients in understanding how these requirements may impact their benefits and what they need to do to maintain them. The screener tool is still currently in draft, and it is moving through the review process. That is all I have for CDSS updates. Thank you.
Thank you. DHCS?
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm going to do kind of two buckets of updates. The first one is just letting you know the most recent letters that we've released. I know we're working towards the end of our agenda, so I'm not going to go through all of them, but just to say those are what recently have come out and the hyperlink that will bring you to those letters. The piece that I did just want to sort of lift up and raise up is we know how massive the HR1 implementations are. They are significant impacts to our Medi-Cal members and put into effect many changes to normal county operations and business practices. This is a significant piece that requires the kind of level and attention that I think we're all putting on it. So I know CalSAWs is lifting up all of the work they're doing around HR1, and I just want to make sure that you're hearing reinforcement of those engagements at all levels from DHCS as well as we're providing these updates. So just to speak very transparently, as I always do with our county partners, DHCS and CalSAWs and CalHERS meet every day, multiple times a day, ensuring that we are really taking the feedback that we're hearing from our county partners in both the DHCS-led work groups and the CalSAWs-led work groups into the implementation processes and making sure we're really accounting for potential gaps in functionality between our systems and how we mitigate that and how we reduce any sort of county burden as we are looking at these particular implementations. With the unwinding, DHCS took a very aggressive approach about how we wanted to be better partners. And you saw that with our county support call. I know one of the topics that's come up a lot, and it's really the critical piece for our counties, is how you all are going to be able to get both the policy information and how to do that within a system out in the time that we have. We know training staff is a huge rollout. Next month, we'll be releasing our full training training plan. We started last year doing our trainings that always include both the policy aspect and the system aspect. We know you get training from CalSAWS on its own, but we think when we pair those two together, your staff have a more meaningful experience. Those trainings will be multi-series trainings. You all will receive the PowerPoints just like you do today, where you're able to actually use that deck and quickly refine it to your own county operations and use it to however you want. Those trainings are always recorded, and we provide those as well. And also written Q&A responses are provided to the counties too, so that you can have those real-time opportunities. So we'll be rolling out our calendar for that will include that same county policy information as well as the system support, so that your workers get that 360 experience when it comes to training. We've also been really looking and tracking all of the tools and resources your teams are asking for in those county work groups when it comes to flowchart, system tips and tricks, all of those types of things, so that ahead of implementation, we can make sure that we're ready to deliver those pieces. So, just want to reinforce that we are absolutely hearing the concern from you as counties. We are being as responsive as well. Hopefully, we are being very responsive to what those asks are. And then just please lifting up, continue to have your counties actively participate in those work groups. Give us those asks of what their needs are, and we are tracking to each of them and trying to meet the needs of the counties. Those are the only updates we have at the DHCS side. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Any questions or comments from the PSC? Okay. Any public comment? Okay, with that, that ends our meeting. So thank you, everybody. We'll see you in May. Have a wonderful day.